As you can see, working in a small space does have its problems with taking things out, knocking cameras. This video isn't going to be about studio lighting, even though I'm going to be using flash for doing the pictures. It was just earlier this week I went onto Amazon and I bought a pack of what they call these coloured gels. I think there's supposed to be 8 colours here, so there's 2 of the same colour. So we've got this blue, got this, I suppose it's almost like a limey green. It's supposed to be a very, very dark grey. So I'm guessing that would act more like a neutral density filter. There's a purple, this sort of fairly, it's, I suppose now you hold it up to the light, it's more of a pinkish colour. There's a red here as well. There's a yellow, that's also a green. And then this orange. Price for these, very, very cheap. These particular ones I paid, I think it's about £6.50, £6.64. So they are very, very cheap. And the good thing about these is, depending on how you want to use them, these are A4 sheets, millimetres wide. It's 210 millimetres wide by 297 millimetres long. That's a standard A4 sheet of paper. So you can always cut these up into different things if you want to. So why all the different coloured gels? Well, I recently bought a flash gun for my camera, the Godox V1 Pro, and I bought the accessory kit with it as well. Now, one of the good things about this flash gun is that all the attachments just fit on the end via magnets. And in the accessory kit, part of that is this ring here, which also holds these different gels. And there's 2 clear blank ones, and the idea there is that if you buy some gels like I've just got there, you can sandwich them between these 2 to then fit into the actual holder. Alternatively, there's a green, and there's 3 sort of like shades of orange. I think all of these are more for dealing with colour correction. Gels. I've just had to do a bit of Googling as to why they're called gels, and it turns out that it's from the theatre world, where they used to use gelatin that they used to colour to put in front of the lights, and that name has stuck through for all these types of coloured filters. So what is it that makes a good photograph? Is it the colours and everything? No, it's all about light. It doesn't matter what your subject is, it could be the most magnificent thing you've never seen before. If the light isn't good, it doesn't make it a good image. However, you could make a very boring subject really exciting by what you do with the light. Now, it could be that you do dramatic lighting, it could be you do soft lighting, could be high key, could be low key. There's all sorts of controls that you can have over it, and it's really all about the light that makes a photograph. Why have I chosen flashlight? It's indoors, it's dark, it's night, you've got better control over the light. I've only got these LED lights at the top here, and I could use one of my little LED lights, but you're then stuck with dealing with smaller objects rather than having a bigger control over larger items you might want to photograph. So I'm going to use my Godox V1 Pro, and just got a light stand here, and it just holds into the light stand like this. Now, as I mentioned, I bought the accessory kit, and there's lots of things you can attach to this. So you've got like the honeycomb grid to start with, so I could put that on, and it will basically stop the light from spreading out. It's very directional, and I've never used anything like this before as well, as that it also comes with these barn doors. How useful they are, I don't know. So that also allows you to really close down sort of like the slit of the light, and I'm going to plonk that on there as well if I can get it to fit with the magnets. I don't know where, I think there you go, I can rotate that around. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a model. The cats won't sit still long enough. The chickens are not interested, so it's going to have to be self-portraits. What I've done, I've used my light meter to meter out the flash power that I need from there. And To make sure that I'm not getting any of these lights, first of all, that are actually here appear in the picture or interfere with the picture, I've just took a picture without flash and I come up with a very black image. For the shutter speed of 1/200 of a second, which is my flash sync speed, f8 ISO 100 means that there's no light recorded whatsoever from what I've got here. And if I just take an image now, and I'm having to use the app on my phone to control all this, so hopefully I can get the autofocus and everything to work, and I will keep getting blinded here. Take an image, hopefully you can see it comes up with very sort of like dark dramatic lighting. It almost looks underexposed. The lighting is on a really thin part of my face. So the first thing I want to see is all of a sudden what happens if I introduce a gel. A gel is going to cut back on the amount of light. I will have to increase the power of light coming out the flash, but hopefully I can just pull this off. And there you go, look at that. I can just literally put the gel sheet between my two magnetic fittings and it's got it on there. As you'd expect, putting a blue filter in on a portrait is going to look probably pretty weird. Let's just give this a go, and I am now very, very blue. The whole point of this is to play around with these gels to see what sort of things you can do. Now, a blue I can probably get away with on a portrait, on a self-portrait of myself. But if I go for, let's just say, something to the other extreme of maybe one of the reds, now I suspect, I'm just going to guess that the light loss is the same rather than just meter it. So just take a test shot. And they've got a very, very deep red picture there. And obviously there's a whole host of things you can play with there. It's very rare you're going to want to put a gel on a portrait. Something else I want to try is maybe lighten the background. This is from a studio light set I bought probably over 20 years ago. This has actually got a sensor on the top here which picks up the flash. I've got to find a plug, and then fires this flash. So it's a case of also having this where it's going to see the flash take place. This light has actually got a modelling light on it, which can be quite handy, but the problem is it puts out an awful lot of heat, and you wouldn't want to put a gel over the front of it because it would just melt the gel. If I now test firing this flash, hopefully it's going to fire this one, which it does, and that's very bright. So I'm at the lowest power and it's still putting out an awful lot of light. Okay, so what I've done now is I've got my old 20-year-old studio flash just set low here on here, so it's hopefully going to illuminate the background. I've put one of the red gels on there, just held it over the front with a piece of masking tape. My Godox flash that I have been using, I've just took the gels out. I've readjusted the power down so it's hopefully at the correct exposure for taking my photograph. So now hopefully we'll see whether the red will be projected onto the background. So if I redo myself here again, and that's such an incredible difference. Ideally I probably want the light more behind me, so what I'm going to do is try and rearrange this. I have took my background to move it back a bit further so I can stick this directly behind me. That's working a lot better. Now the problem is because I'm fairly close to the background, I'm using f8. It's now showing up all the creases. I've just changed a few things around. I've got my background probably almost back as far as I can go. I'm using an 85mm lens on the camera, and the camera I've moved as far back as I can go so it just about holds the full width of the background in. And then what I've done, I've moved myself forwards with the light that I've got here so that I'm still about the same distance from the camera. That means that I could then pull this background light as far away from the background as possible, so it's literally with me. And this has done two things. By moving the light further away, I've got the flash on quarter power, which is as low as I can go with this one. It's reduced the amount of red that's getting on the background. By moving the camera further back, and I've also dropped down to f4 now, even though those creases will still show, they will be a lot smoother and they won't show up so bad. If I take another image now, press the shutter, and there's the image. It makes a massive difference. And that's really sort of like trying to create dramatic lighting. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of this lot for starters. Going to put my softbox back on. So the only way I can do this is sticking it up on the kitchen counter. Hopefully you can see now what changing these really light diffusers does to the lighting. The last 3 or 4 weeks I've probably spent an awful lot of time watching lots of videos on YouTube on aspects of studio and flash lighting. One particular channel I've watched an awful lot of videos from, and it's called Adorama TV. If you're into photography, you may well have heard a company called Adorama, which I hadn't before this. They are a supplier of photography equipment, and they do have a really good YouTube channel. And there is a photographer on there who does an awful lot of content called Gavin Hoey. He's a UK photographer. He specialises in portrait photography, mainly in his home studio, which is quite small, but he does location shots and a very, very small percentage of things like still life. But really the principles of lighting, especially when you bring in manual lighting, it doesn't matter whether it's from a torch or some form of fixed lighting, or whether it's from flash, from a flash gun, like a speed light you have on your camera, or some form of studio lighting. The whole principle of the lighting all works the same. And if you are interested in dealing with your own lighting rather than the natural light that's available, do go across and watch some of those videos. You will learn an awful lot. The reason I've got a black backdrop on there rather than turn it around for the white side is that these colours will show up more against a black background rather than a white background. If you don't have flash, as in the camera flash, or even studio lights, these gels might be something for you to still think of, because you can use them even with like a torch light like that, depending on the brightness of your torch as to how much you get the colouring from there. You might even be working with natural light from a window, and you find that you can put these 1 or 2 of these sheets on a particular place your window to change the colour of the light coming in. So they are something to think about and give you different options for trying different aspects of your photography. Hopefully this video has been of something to give you thoughts about doing something different. Thanks a lot for watching.